Hello, everyone. Welcome to 1 Million Mind. Hello, Balaji. How are you doing?
Hey Rajni, I'm doing great. How was your India trip?
It was great. I went there for a very short trip for 2 weeks. But I think the most exciting part, other than the amazing food and being 10 pounds heavier, the other thing that was very surprising about the trip is just the level of excitement in entrepreneurs in India. I met a few of them working in different spaces, and I was looking for some entrepreneurs in the AI space. But just overall, a lot of mainstream news in the U.S. covers: is the recession here? Is it coming? When things going to slow down? When is the interest rate going to go up? So it was very refreshing to go to India to be able to. None of this. There's no talks about recession. Some of the IT folks maybe had something say, "Oh, we might not get bonuses," but most of them were really optimistic about the future. Right? There's entrepreneurs investing in real estate, starting new businesses, and working on digital marketing projects. So to me, the energy was absolutely different than what I feel here. Maybe it's just the news. Maybe if you go to Silicon Valley,
Did,
maybe
did
it'll be
you
different.
feel that the coming out of COVID excitement is masking some of these underlying issues?
Possibly, right? So what there was definitely a lot of restrictions and people have been let loose. So that's one thing. But I think from a strategy to maybe again, this is just based on my experience. I can't say for everybody, but some of the entrepreneurs I saw, they were not like, for example, you and I are talking about Web3, AI, just I would say cutting edge technology, and we follow the VC money. We see it going to Web3, and then the wave now going to AI, and all the excitement is there. But in India, I feel like there is some, you will see it later in, our, in some of the studies, there is a lot of excitement about AI, but a lot of the entrepreneurs are not, that I met are not pushing the envelope as much as working on brand new ideas versus executing on idea. For example, digital
Current
marketing.
ideas.
Yeah, I met a
Okay.
couple of
Okay.
entrepreneurs. They have found a niche and they are executing and delivering on it and delivering value to their clients. So, but they're not trying to build a billion-dollar enterprise. They could be multi-million dollar companies, but they're like once there's something goes mainstream, they have a lot of lessons learned from other companies and they're building on it. So, but the excitement's there. They're definitely growing. They're talking about the expansion plans. I really enjoyed the trip and being able to interact with these entrepreneurs.
Did you say get a sense like since you mentioned executing on the current ideas and they are going through that process, did they suddenly discover AI as a superpower in the whole scheme of things, or are they still executing the old way without AI? I
So
mean,
correct. So they have now come to a point where they're saying, okay, I am digital marketing with AI, right? So they've not
right,
really
right.
forced. It almost feels like every company now, especially if you're raising funding, you're making something with powered by AI. So they haven't branded that, but there's a lot of automations, a lot of process improvements. There is interest in AI. But I don't think they want, at least the ones I talk to, want to be in the forefront, take arrows in the back. They rather look for what happens mainstream once we get into the hype cycle. Once it actually we have functioning tools that build them, I think that's where some of these mainstream entrepreneurs are going to jump in it. I'm pretty sure if you go to Bangalore and other top technology hubs in India, a lot of people are building AI tools, right? But I'm talking about the remaining 70, 80% of entrepreneurs where their focus is.
Understandably, because I think a lot of knowledge workers are still in India. Probably they know the insides of AI. They probably cut out the hype cycle. They exactly know what it is capable of to some extent, right? It's also very possible. All right, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. So I would love to stay in touch with these entrepreneurs because, like, even my wife, when I talk to her, like, she's like, "Oh, let's make sure our kids start using ChatGPT and Bard and all that," because I think my wife is the most conservative person. Like she doesn't go after any shiny objects. But in even her, she's getting a sense for that this is going to impact
It's
everything,
an
right?
accelerant.
Not even
It's an
not
accelerant,
yeah,
right? Yeah, it's going to accelerate a lot
correct.
of things.
So our kids are like in middle school and high school or going into high school, right? So in their 10, if you fast forward 10 years, they're going to be living a completely different world with completely new job descriptions, just that we don't even know about. The I think everybody's getting the sense for it. Nobody knows exactly where it's going, but they all know this is coming and it's going to change. So I think that everybody's kind of getting on the wave right now. So it's just interesting to see.
Awesome. Let's move on to our first topic, the AI voice libraries.
Yes. So one of the, I know you and I have done a lot of experiments, especially around the using our own voices, because I think that
Synthetic
we sort of,
voices mostly, yeah, synthetic, right? Okay.
yeah, we used it for when I started playing with ChatGPT, being able to write an article, and then using 11 Labs to mimic my voice, and then have it read it, and I had my family come and listen to it, and they just assumed I read it, right? So I was beyond excited when I got them to agree that was me reading it versus the AI doing it. So that was the level of my excitement. But now where we come in the journey of that is we talked about, okay, what if we can use celebrity voices? Is there an IP associated with it? We're going to get sued. But now, including 11 Labs, there are marketplaces and libraries being opened up where just like you would do with artwork or where creators are creating artificial voices, and you basically contribute to that. You can create it, but then you can pull from that and use it for your project. So you don't have to worry about like this person doesn't exist, right? There's faces of people who never exist. So if you take it, you don't have to worry about Getty coming after you. So having a voice library of different voices, whether it could be accents, it could be based on what your use case is, you can go pull from that library and use it for your product. So I just feel like it's a, I don't know, it just feels like a natural progression. So I'm looking forward to using some of these voices. And then at some point, they're going to look more natural. The accents and the emotions are going to come in. So that's when I think we really are going to be on the cutting edge of really using this for a lot of functional applications. So that's one of the
Interesting.
things that I would really say. Yeah.
So this technology is getting better and better. I think at first it was text to speech sounding robotic. Then came 11 Labs, which made it much more interesting, natural sounding. So now there are voices that are available for experimentation. That's what I hear from you, right? So now as developers, as entrepreneurs, we can take this and try to mold it to where we want it to see how it looks. It's very interesting. I mean, one of the first thought that came to me was, I think I told you before, right? It'll be so much fun if a mom or dad can read a story in their own voice as an artificial avatar to the kid, right? So you just read a bunch of sentences, the system learns your tone, your variations, and instead of
Mhm.
some random person reading a story, right? It's a bedtime story that you can interact with in your parents' voice. That'll be great. That's what I thought.
I agree. And I think yeah, I think there's so many options, especially I was thinking about like you know how unique like a Morgan Freeman's voice is, right? Like you don't even have to know who that is. If he comes on a commercial, you know that. So I want to try to identify some of these unique voices, maybe like Morgan Freeman voices that we can leverage without having to worry about who's gonna come after us. So I'm excited about just experimenting with that.
Awesome. Let's talk about AI at work. I'm going to bring up some
Yeah,
slides.
this is the BCG report that I think it had a lot of good information. I think the most interesting part to me was how I think this was done in 2017 or 2018 to now, how things are changing from 2018 to now, what is 5 years later, how generative AI and just general people's opinion about it, like depending on where you're a frontline employee versus you're a leader, you have different opinions about it. But overall, I think the optimism for AI being helpful for you is increasing. So if you look at the first one, there's a 17-point jump. 52% of people are very optimistic about how AI is going to impact their work. And then the concern, so for one side, optimism is increasing, the other side, the concern is decreasing, that is really going to impact. Like, I think there was a lot of fear mongering about, okay, AI is coming, all your jobs going to go away. What are you going to do? Well, being homeless, right? So, but I think the truth is really, I think it's going to augment what you do to a certain extent. And it's not like happening overnight, but I think people are seeing how it can help. For I mean, just I had to update my resume. What would have taken me about 6 to 8 hours of painful work took me 30 minutes. So just to completely rehaul my resume, those are things that I'm grateful for. that ChatGPT exists, right? So I think people are seeing those real world use case scenarios where it's been helpful for them, and also we will see in the future that some of the countries, the optimism around this is higher, but in general, I think overall it's positive feedback. And also, I think what happens is the more people use this tool, the more accepting they are of that, the less they're fearful of it, and that they feel like it can help them. So I think that's the key takeaway. But did you have any other from your perspective that you took away from this?
Oh, absolutely. This is a very interesting point in time, right? I think the media has done a good job, and I think the trigger point in all of this was releasing the open AI and the models and all these things caused the whole bunch of people to experiment. Now they're all converging, including myself, on certain things and certain aspects of your work life culture that it is accelerating, right? So to get in my personal experience, right, I've been coding for a very long time, but particularly I don't enjoy coding style sheets or any UI elements, for example, right? And my English, I started speaking English only after I started working, right? And I have gradually improved, but the vocabulary for me is somewhat limited compared to others. So I kind of look at this as UI UX accelerant, my language accelerant, and I got after out of the two, and I'm already enjoying this to the extent like, hey, Chat GPT, you complete me, right? It's almost to that level, right? So why I am saying this is people are going to go through their personal experience, and then now they're going to figure, okay, this is where I'm deficient at, and this is going to make me look like a superhero. And that moment, everybody's that I think that's one of the reasons why people feel optimistic, and because now they're discovering little things that it's not a threat, but it's augmenting your capability, which we spoke about earlier, right? It's going to augment first. Eventually, whether it takes over is a whole different conversation.
Agree. So I think what was I think can you move to the next one, please? The
Yeah.
slide.
Yeah, we're on the second slide.
Okay. I think yes. So I think this is just a visual representation of what we talked about. How optimism is increasing, concern is dropping, and it's what been 5 years. There's been significant improvement. I just feel like this is a trend. It's going to go, and again, depending on which audience you're talking to, this will change. But I think in general, everybody's curious, and a lot more people are getting optimistic. So let's move to one more analogy.
Yeah, change to the next one. Yeah.
Okay. I think this one is to do with the what I found interesting is, of course, those who are optimistic about it are the least concerned about it, but the countries that are optimistic, right? So like India,
This is
Brazil, and
interesting.
UAE.
Yeah, country
So
wise.
that's what surprised me the most is what those are the most optimistic, and then U.S. and Netherlands and Japan were not as optimistic. They're not in the most concerned. Netherlands and Japan are, but I was a little I don't know, confused, I should
So
say,
Brazil
about
and
140.
India are the least concerned. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but if you look at the most optimistic and least concerned, they're the same, right? So that
Right,
makes
right, right.
sense.
Mhm.
But the U.S. not being in the most optimistic, I don't know if I'm missing something, but it's really a surprise to me, right? That they are not
Least
feeling that this is
optimistic. Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting statistics.
So
I thinking out loud, maybe it's the macroeconomics or the climate that's causing some of these statistics to skew. It's hard to imagine U.S. is least optimistic. Maybe the election cycle coming up, people are worried that AI is going to rig the election again. Who
yeah, I
knows?
think it's because what you said makes a lot of sense. Like the macroeconomic, where people are already looking for jobs, even though the unemployment rate is still super low, and then the mainstream narrative is, oh, the jobs are going to be replaced by AI. So maybe that's where this is coming from. But I'll be interested to see how things are in a couple of years.
Awesome. All right.
All right, let's talk about AI, Professor. This was interesting because we've been talking about how can we make AI our tutor or a professor, and what are the advantages of it. So we've been talking in theory, right? What Harvard is doing is replacing one of the most, I shouldn't replacing, the most one of the most popular courses. In September, they're going to be having AI teach it. So really, this will be a great experiment. So there's two things, right? One, a lot it's a coding course, so it could be one-on-one feedback on bugs and things that the students are doing. AI is a lot more equipped to handle this rather than me having to deal with it in a class of 50 and having been able to give feedback. It just does. We human beings, we don't scale like that. So that's one thing. Will there be some issues, hallucinations, and things that we still have to iron out? Absolutely. But I'm glad they're doing this experiment, and so the student gets one-on-one, uh, and who better to teach coding than AI from my perspective. So and then we're going to go through some of these wrinkles where there's some going to be some bad feedback or something, right? But on the other side, if I'm a professor, if I can augment my teaching with AI, I can focus on interacting with the students when I use AI as my teaching assistant, right? And I feel like that might be like the human in the loop model that makes a lot of sense. But I want to follow this experiment to see where it takes us and some of the lessons learned that other, whether it's entrepreneurs or other institutions, can actually implement in their workflow. So,
This is
any
very
thoughts on that?
interesting. Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking, why coding? I think the immediate thought I have is it's a well-defined boundary condition. You have everything very well-defined in a coding space. Two candidates were math and coding, right? It's very well-defined. You cannot go 10 different ways doing certain things, right? As opposed to other subjects. Very interesting. So yeah, I'm eager to see how this progresses because I think there's going to be a lot of learning here that can be actually translated to other subjects as well. Very interesting.
Imagine even like a Udemy or a Udacity, all these online learning and private tutoring companies can absolutely leverage this for a one-on-one. You can teach big classes now because this tool will take care of the one-on-one interactions, and you work on maybe just the progressing the class or something. So I mean I enjoy teaching, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out. So we'll definitely come back to this and update everybody on how this is going.
Yeah, I'm curious.
All right.
I'm sure they're going to learn a lot from the other side. I think it's almost like a one side is a constant. They're trying to learn how the person interacts with the professor, right? I think that's much of the learning they're going to do here because the one side is very well defined boundary conditions, and once they know that, now they can go back to the other one, which is going to make it much more richer. Very interesting. Okay, let's go to the next one. AI at Amazon.
So this is to me very interesting. Is always wondered who's going to be, because I think we all at this point understand that there's not going to be one winner, one large language model that's going to take it out, right? So if you look at whether it's Chat GPT or I think every day a new flavor of that comes out, or
Right.
Bard. So what Amazon is kind of pivoted to, or at least one of the things they're doing, I think they're doing a bunch of things in this space, but is providing a marketplace where they're offering all these LLMs, right? So you can pick and choose from your best AI models, and you optimize using, you bring your own data and IP. So what it's almost like you don't, like how they offer the AWS, right? You don't have to worry about all the technology. You just bring your application, your data, your IP, and do your use that. You can quickly scale up to your from your idea to actually execution. So that's what they're doing, and I'm interested. So what they're saying is everybody build your different LLMs or models. You have a marketplace to kind of offer it to. On the other side, as a consumer, you get to pick and choose which one you want. You can change things as you want because they're all on the same platform. So it's a very cool concept. So, and I'm looking forward to see how that plays out. It just makes sense, feels like a natural progression too on when you have so many options available.
Absolutely. I think that's the key, right? I mean, even with the Google Colab, I think you can already see little efficiencies when you can actually stitch things together in a workflow and run it in the system, right? So I think what you're saying sounds like Amazon goes to the natural instinct. How can I bring all of this workload to my compute? and my bandwidth and my stuff, so we can profit from it, as well as people can continue creating on a pay-per-use basis. I think that's a great start to the next stage to propel everybody.
Yeah, I didn't know about it until I read this article. They're silently building the infrastructure that enable customers to combine and build on top of the best models in innovative ways. And I think the combined part would be interesting to see because everybody's offering their own AI models.
Yeah, I'm also curious, are they going to keep up to date versions of these models, because these are all big, huge files, right? So I would be curious, like, operating system, are they going to go after it and keep it updated, or give note, like, you see what I mean? Like, it's going to be undergoing evolution by itself, and these are huge model files, several gigabytes.
Yeah,
Who wants to download every
I
time?
think we talked about it in our conversation before this, right? Yesterday, is what if we could it's like agent, what do you call agent GPT, where you have different tasks and you can call different places and it kind of auto executes on it. So what if you have all these models? One of them is a model that's big about travel. Another one is a
Right,
lawyer model. And you have
right.
one model that kind of calls on the other models and brings a personalized answer to you, but it picks and chooses the subject matter expert models from there. I think those are like the opportunity is going to be amazing. So you don't have to be dependent on one, and you can your personal assistant can outsource the work to other assistants and kind of bring it back all to you. So yes, I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. But to your point, I don't know how they're going to keep track of it, how they can update it. I think that's why they're doing it a very silent way because there's a lot of things to iron out. But if it works, I think it would be very cool.
Awesome. As a closing thought, I would like to share media. One of my, again, last week I was playing with some of the, again, this is AI at work, right? And my own discoveries. Synthesia is a product I think everyone should take a look at, because it saved me a whole ton of time trying to create how-to or product videos. It's to compare, it's almost 10 days of work in 2 hours, 3 hours type of saving. And
Wow.
it comes up with a wonderful how-to demo that's even better than what I used to do before, with avatar talking and naturally sounding. Um, so um, my other LinkedIn contact, he took it to a different angle, right? So I'll just share this content. It's very interesting.
It's nice to meet you, Tom, and thank you for spending just 2 minutes with me discussing Newport and your background. I just have 4 questions. Okay, let's get started. Can you tell me about Newport?
Newport's a national firm of about 50 or so advisors, each with a unique industry or functional skill set that helps mid-market companies accelerate their growth. My specific focus is primarily on software companies, and more specifically at the intersection of AI and customer experience.
Can you
So if you look at this, the person on the left is an AI avatar that Synthesia created with what Tom fed as a question, right? This is awesome. You can self-interview. You can create your own branded material, like I call B2B creator. Is now in the works, right? Now we are creating stuff with AI that you don't even need a person. You can create a more controlled interview.
That is amazing because I know I mean, the things came up, but this was the AI part, but it is amazing. Like, I think the first question was great, but how they did it, where the person's talking and you could tell the facial expressions looked like it was actually paying attention to it. I just
Right.
think we're barely scratching the surface too, right? Well, it's
Exactly.
gonna continue to get better. So to your point, I think a lot of B2B creators, and I think you've used it for product reviews or product
Tours.
releases.
Yeah.
They just so there's a product or demo, sorry, but maybe it was a Freudian slip. Right? What if we can use it for product reviews,
You can, yeah, a
right?
lot of these use cases, like, right, comes into play. I just used it in my own work environment. People are now starting to visualize it in their own use cases, right? This is awesome, right? This is what I'm talking about. It's good that we are allowed to play with this technology right now, rather than being restrictive. But at some point, I think some other forces are going to come into play to restrict some of these aspects, right? So because again,
Because what I know the product reviews, right? It's good to have that, but what if I create this crappy product and I have 10, 100,000 bots, 1,000 bots review it and say it's amazing, right? And some of these bots are starting to look very human.
very
So
real,
I'm going to have
yes.
5-star reviews of videos on Amazon showing that I'm an amazing product only to be burnt when I buy it. So that's the downside, but the positive thing is it's amazing how much things you can do. Like I could have a conversation like we're having with an avatar, and we could do recordings if you're traveling. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. I know this is, again, I want to acknowledge this is episode 20. We made it episode 20. So that's awesome. So I
There
know,
you go. That's 20
yeah,
times 2 weeks. That's
yeah,
almost 40 weeks. This is awesome.
yeah, we fast approaching a year of making this. So we've learned a lot and we've shared a lot with the audience, and we're going to continue to do that. But I want to take a moment to acknowledge that the consistency with which we've done this. So it's not easy. I know you're very busy, Balaji, so I appreciate you taking time to do this.
Likewise,
And,
Rajni. I think our audience stuck with us this long, and I think it's an evolutionary process. We are learning, they are learning. It's all great. I think we are feeling contribution as well as the knowledge that's transferring. Right. This is awesome.
Right. That's the intent, right? Like it's just two people talking, nerding out about some cool technology stuff that we are learning that we want to give. And I think as people are learning from this, ask us if you guys have any questions. But we're gonna continue to bring more things that we learn every 2 weeks. So until next time, see you guys, and thanks, Balaji.
Thanks, everyone.